we go.
Okay, so no feedback here. Okay, so we were thinking of going through some of the most common questions we get from our product Matte Black Plus. But before we do that, I don't know if you can see these, but we are enjoying our Mad Custom Coating pipes here. This is a 4-man zoom. These will be going for pre-sale, and they are simply awesome. And we're smoking Seattle Pipe Club's Plum Pudding. This is our second day with Plum Pudding, and it's delicious.
Highly recommended.
It's a little wet in the tin, and so you could probably dry it out a little bit before smoking. But it is really good.
All right, so we're going to start off with some common questions that we receive all the time about our proprietary Mad Black Plus formula. A lot of you guys are familiar with it, some of you aren't. For those of you who aren't, Mad Black Plus is one of our proprietary Cerakote formulas that we use here at Mad Custom Coating, and we use it on a wide array of things. We can basically apply it to any substrate except for rubber, and it is a true black color. But basically, if you take standard Cerakote, Mad Black Plus is half as thick as normal Cerakote, and it's twice as strong, but it also has self-lubricating properties. So theoretically, you could run your parts dry if you wanted to. We still recommend putting a light coat of oil, but you could run them dry. This BCG here on the table is completely dry, and it's really smooth. The coefficient of friction on that product actually rivals Teflon. So they're about neck and neck for their friction properties.
So what I have here is a list of questions. So we kind of went through our emails and we kind of came up with a list of things we're commonly asked about Mad Black Plus. So I'll throw the question out, David, you throw the answer out, and I will chime in at times. So one question we get a lot, we've run Mad Black for a long time, and now we have Mad Black Plus, and yet we still sell Mad Black, and so people are confused in that if there's a plus, why do I still want the regular? What is the difference between these two products, Mad Black Plus?
So the original Mad Black Plus that we use Mad Black. So the original Mad Black, and then we have the new Mad Black Plus. The original Mad Black is based on the standard Cerakote formula. So it's what we still use for a lot of our base coating for camo patterns. And essentially anything that would have a pattern in it, we use the standard Mad Black. The Mad Black Plus is a solid color application only because nothing will stick to it. So the Mad Black Plus would compete more on the level of like the Cerakote Elite series, and the Mad Black is along the lines of the standard H series Cerakote.
Okay, and it's called Mad Black, and yet we often get a question, does Mad Black come in any other colors?
So that's a good question. Mad Black does not come in any other colors, but Mad Black Plus, because of the formula, we were actually able to develop 4 other colors. So we have Mad Black Plus available in a gray, an OD green, an FDE. Is there another color?
No, and black.
So gray, OD green,
4
FDE,
colors.
and black. 4 colors total.
And those other colors have not, they're recent developments, so they haven't been released formally yet, or a couple people that have called have known about them. Manufacturers know about them, but if you haven't heard about it, it's not like you're late to the game or something. Those are pretty recent releases. So if I'm getting a camouflage project done and I want, Matte Black Plus, can I use Matte Black Plus on my camouflage?
The short answer is no. You can't use Matte Black Plus in a camouflage project. We can do certain types of patterns, like we have like if you want like that blood splatter effect or something, we could do that with the Matte Black Plus, but actual like Madeline camos or our Mad Dragon camos we could not do in the Matte Black Plus.
But it is still a heat cured product.
Correct, yeah, it's still heat cured, goes through essentially the same process, but can't be done in camos.
So you mentioned a few things that it can be applied to. Anything you're saying that is a hard surface, so obviously rubber wouldn't work in there, but just like normal Cerakote, anything that's in a hard surface, we're good to go.
Right, so any hard surface, plastics, any type of metal, polymers, wood even, but yeah, rubber, we could put it on rubber, it's just going to end up coming off later on because the substrate's so soft.
Okay, David, question we get asked a lot that always brings a smile to our face. Do we make Matte Black Plus in-house?
We do not make Matte Black Plus in-house. Matte Black Plus was created kind of as a joint effort. We worked with the awesome people over at Cerakote, and we helped develop this coating with them, and so they formulated that and they manufacture it in the NIC factory specifically for us.
I'm going to chime in a little bit. When David says that we helped formulate it, I think that's a little bit giving us too much credit there. So how we helped them was we said, we want a true black color that achieves X results. And then these guys, really smart ones that wear white lab coats and whatever else, they did whatever they do and they achieved it. And we went back and forth with testing and things like that, but we're not that smart.
It's science.
Right, So we actually, believe it or not, we are actually part of the, I'm giving you another thing that gives us too much credit. We are part of the design engineering team for Microsoft. It looks good on a business card, but we haven't really designed much.
Yeah, we helped them with some of their coatings.
Right. But does sound cool. So not designed in-house, and so it is designed by NIC or Cerakote themselves. And so another question that comes up from that, Cerakote makes it, can I purchase it? We get that a lot from other coders that have clients that are asking about Matte Black or Matte Black Plus, and they want to know, well, how do I get it?
Yeah, so good question. Matte Black Plus is not available for sale from Cerakote or from us. The only way that you can get it is if you send us your project and we code it here for you.
Sorry about that, guys. It's not available for sale. I can't purchase it from Mad Custom Coating. I can't get it from NIC. That's the bottom line on that. Will that change in the future? We don't know. That's just right now the corporate decision. Is it, we say it has a coefficient of friction of Teflon. Is it slippery? Can I coat my grip with it? Is my hand gonna just slip off this gun? Is it too slippery?
Yeah, so even though it has self-lubricating properties, when you touch it, it doesn't feel slick to the touch. Like your hand's not gonna slip off of it if you put it on your handgun slide or anything like that. Slides are actually one of the most common things that we coat in Mad Black Plus because of its friction reducing properties and it's just overall durability. So a lot of guys will send in their slide that already came black from the factory, but we'll strip it and apply Mad Black Plus to it because it'll increase everything. I mean, corrosion rating goes up, your durability goes up, and then it increases your function and lowers your coefficient of friction. So, you know, what's not to love about all that?
Okay, so years ago, NIC produced a product, and I shouldn't say years ago like they don't do it anymore, they still produce it, but it's the product Microslick. It was available in an ambient cure, in a heat cure. We used to coat quite a bit of Microslick. Interior engine components, a lot of BCGs. We sold tons of Microslick BCGs. We have not sold the Microslick BCG forever. Mad Black Plus has replaced it. But what is the difference between Microslick and Mad Black Plus? And is there any advantage to Microslick?
So Mad Black Plus, since we've got it, has basically taken over the Microslick market in the gun world. Microslick had its advantages because it could go on a lot thinner than Cerakote, and it had a great coefficient of friction, but at the end of the day, it wasn't very durable, and the corrosion results were only about 200 hours in the corrosion test. So the Mad Black Plus came along, and we could apply it just as thin as Microslick, and the corrosion tests are over 4,000 hours in the salt spray so far, and the test hasn't even finished yet, and there's still no signs of corrosion. And then the abrasion...
It's actually 8,000 hours.
8,000. The abrasion test, Mad Black Plus outperforms the standard Cerakote colors, including Microslick. So you've got increased abrasion resistance, increased corrosion resistance, and a better coefficient of friction that doesn't wear out like Microslick would.
So what advantage is there? Why is NIC still producing Microslick?
Microslick still has advantages in the automotive industry where you need a high temperature application. So you're coating internal parts that are going to be running in oil already, so you're not worried about corrosion, but it is a high temperature situation. So Mad Black Plus only goes up to about 500-600 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas Microslick can exceed 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So in an automotive application, you'd probably want to use Microslick as long as it's in a housing that has oil and stuff, because you don't want it to corrode.
So are we still stocking Microslick?
No.
Okay.
We don't stock it, but I mean, if you
We
really
can
need
still
your car
apply it.
parts, we can.
I think the one application that we still use Microslick for are pistons, along with piston coat. We don't use Mad Black Plus for that.
Yeah, so we'll actually coat the head of the piston in the Microslick and the rest of it and the piston coat for the thermal barrier protection.
And that's not like it's a normal Joe comes in with his pistons. Usually that's a manufacturing type of run.
Hang on, so to answer Gunchiatrist, if you send a full pistol to get Mad Black Plus, do you do all the internals or just the slide and frame? So we can do it either way. If you want just the slide coated, we'll coat just the slide. If you want the slide frame and all the internals and every piece and part on the gun, we can do that as well. It's up to you. It'll just be a simple note on the job form on what you do and don't want coated.
Okay, so can a person use Mad Black Plus in a high temperature application?
Yeah, up to about 500 or 600 degrees.
Okay.
But I mean, even after those temperatures, you know, if you went up to 700 degrees, you know, the coating isn't just gonna fall apart and come off. You may start to see like discoloration and things like that at that point, but you're still gonna get performance out of it.
Right, and so sometimes people ask, I'm getting my rifle done in Mad Black Plus, and they'll have a can on there or something, and they're worried about the heat in that muzzle device. Generally, unless you're going full auto, you're not going to approach the heat capacity of that coating. So that's not really any type of genuine concern. So,
and gun chiatrist, yes. Advantages to doing the internals is you've got corrosion protection, abrasion protection, and a coefficient of friction like Teflon. So your parts theoretically should perform better because they're coated in the Mad Black Plus.
Back in the day, we used to do what was called a operator's package or a patrol package for law enforcement, where we coated the interior of the firearm in microslick and the exterior in a protective coating. We don't even offer that package any longer because Mad Black Plus essentially does everything microslick does. It goes on the inside, outside, and it's just really an awesome product. What parts are what do we coat the most in? What parts are they normally applied to?
So, I mean, we coat everything in Mad Black Plus, but a lot of the typical parts we see would be BCGs, bolts for bolt action rifles, any bolt system for any gun really, slides for handguns, and receiver sets for ARs and such. It really helps out with performance on those parts. But yeah, those are the ones that we see the most that are being coated in Mad Black Plus. And a lot of times it's seriously people send in their entire gun and say, here you go, here's all my parts, coat every single part in Mad Black Plus.
Okay, so that brings up a good question. So here's a hard thing about coating a gun. It's kind of permanent, right? I mean, you get that done on your firearm, and when people choose colors on their coating projects, it's seriously, guys come in here, they're tough little operator types, and they choose colors like women choose linen. And they're in here looking over color swatches. It's pretty embarrassing. You almost lose your man card, but not quite. However, if you can coat a product in Mad Black Plus, tell us, David, what you can do and achieve with Krylon.
So if you coated your entire firearm or whatever it is in Mad Black Plus, and you want to rattle can it, you'd spray your rattle can paint all over it, do whatever pattern you want, and when you get sick of it, you just take a toothbrush and some acetone and scrub it all off. Nothing sticks well to the Mad Black Plus, so you're able to clean it off, versus if you did it over an anodized set, which most people do, you try and scrub that off with anodizing, and all of the Krylon soaks into all the little pores that are there, and you can never get it all off. So it'd be way easier to take Krylon or rattle can paint off of Mad Black Plus than it would be to take it off of anodizing.
So if you're an operator and you are in different environments, you can effectively have one rifle system that could match every single environment that you're going in, and with just a little acetone and a toothbrush, you can get it back to pristine black again. So that's a benefit, and not many people take advantage of that outside of the military world. But if you are tired of the look of your rifle and you want to keep changing it up, that's a real option. And that's the only time we ever push Krylon in our shop. Nothing against Krylon. It has its purpose. So Mad Black Plus is a recent development. So what companies are already using this where we can see it being used?
Well, before we get to that, we can answer off to the river. What's the difference between Mad Black Plus and Elite Series coatings? Good question. So Elite Series only has about 8 or 9 colors that they offer, and none of them are black. So Mad Black Plus is a true black coating that shares very similar properties as the Elite Series coatings do. So it'll perform at least as well as the Elite Series coatings.
Remember, this Matte Black Plus is a Cerakote product. Even though it's only available at Mad, it is a Cerakote product, so it of course shares those elite properties. So the question was that we didn't get to, what companies have adopted Matte Black Plus?
So we coat for several different companies, but the main ones that use Matte Black Plus a lot, the Lionheart Industries. They've been around for a while, but they've kind of went MIA for a little bit, getting their new firearms off the ground, which are going to be released soon. But they come standard in Matte Black Plus. And then Colonel Blades, they are an awesome company, and we coat their knives in Matte Black Plus, along with other things as well. But for knife blades especially, it's a really, really good durable coating. Doesn't scratch as easily, and then whatever you're cutting has a lot harder time sticking to Matte Black Plus than it does to another coating.
So think of your larger field knives where you have sap or whatever else on a tree. Matte Black Plus is going to clean that blade off a lot quicker.
Yeah, so Lionheart, Colonel Blades, Jones Arms, all of their standard sets come in Matte Black Plus. Loophole Optics uses Matte Black Plus on a bunch of their optics. Think of anybody else?
There might be, but not offhand. Oh, Reese
Yeah,
Engineering.
Reese Productions. They make tripod stands and some other random stuff, and they use Matte Black Plus. And they used to actually have to put Teflon washers between all their parts so that their tripods could turn. And now they don't have to do that. They've gotten rid of the washers because everything is coated in Matte Black Plus, and they don't need to do that.
That's right, and they said it was the first time in over 100 years where all the different components of their stands actually match now, so that's exciting. A lot of times companies will come to us because their anodizing just doesn't match, and all of you companies out there that are doing color anodizing especially, that's a frustration. Tech data, people ask about gloss levels. They're asking about how thick this product is going on. What can we tell them in regards to that?
So as far as technical data, gloss level, people always worry about, oh, is it too shiny? Is somebody going to see their reflection in it? The answer is no. It's a satin finish, so yes, it may be shinier than a matte anodized set, but it's not shiny by any means. And then tech data, it goes on half as thin as standard Cerakote. So we applied at about half of a mil. That's half of 1/1000th of an inch. And we can even apply it slightly thinner in certain applications. But just to give you a reference, so that's half of 1/1000th of an inch. Your standard anodizing is going on at almost 2/1000ths. So
Mil-spec anodizing.
Mil-spec anodizing. So you're almost 4 times as thick with anodizing. So a lot of people always think, oh, is it going to mess with my tolerances? And the answer is no. We even can coat a threaded screw and the female threads that it goes into, and they'll thread in just fine, no problem. Like we mentioned earlier, corrosion, so far the test isn't over, and it's over 8,000 hours in the corrosion test. And the abrasion, it exceeded all of the ASTM testing in abrasion, scratch hardness, and the like.
A lot of companies are using it for areas where they have a lot of chemical issues. So on small parts or things where it's getting broken down by various chemicals. So you can actually, and we have tested this with a BCG, or it wasn't a BCG, it was a bolt, but it was a rifle bolt, and it was highly polished, and so absolutely no, basically a mirror profile on it. And we coated it in Matte Black Plus with no blasting, so it still had that very slick profile. Heat cured it, and then we took the bolt and we placed it in aircraft paint thinner, paint stripper, and we soaked it in there overnight. And you could not get through the Matte Black Plus. This is on a no profile whatsoever on the bolt, and soaked in the harshest of paint thinners or strippers, and it could not strip off the coating. You can put it in gasoline, in acetone, in whatever other chemical you can come up with, and Matte Black Plus will continue to adhere to the product. So pretty incredible coating in that regard.
Yeah. Anything else?
I've exhausted my list.
Got your list?
But do we have any questions coming in?
Checking. Gotta see if you guys have any other questions that we might have missed here.
So again, these pipes here, these are manufactured out of corn cobs. I know it's hard to believe. And these are going to be going on pre-sale soon. It's going to be a 4th of July release and a very limited run. So we'll start seeing that come out pretty soon.
So somebody asked if they could get their car airdropped here. Probably not, but you never know.
Matte Black Plus would make your car faster. The coefficient of friction, it would have less wind drag. That's my theory. If Lamborghini is out there washing it, you can send us a sample.
Yeah, you should test it. I'd be happy to.
Or Ferrari. Really, we're not picky. We would sample anybody.
And no, Matt, we shouldn't be working. This is work, if you haven't noticed.
This is a lot. This is hard work. Anything else we got? Again, Seattle Pipe Club Plum Pudding, really good, flavorful blend, Latakia, Perique, Oriental Turkish blend, and it is really nice. A little bit of Cavendish that I can't taste whatsoever, but it says on the can that it's in there.
And these Missouri Meerschaum corncob pipes colored in some war-torn America. These will be available soon, by the way. So keep an eye out. As July 4th approaches, we'll be probably doing some sort of giveaway and getting these up on the website.
If you're not familiar with Missouri Meerschaum, they've been around a long time, longer than even Savinelli, and they're the ones that made the famous pipes for General MacArthur that he would use to point on the battlefield. And this particular cob is their general cob that's just been coated. So excited about that.
All right, Max Beecher. We may do another knife giveaway. It's possible. So stay tuned.
We do have some giveaways planned though.
Yeah, we do. Just not sure what they may be just yet, but definitely some pipes coming up.
Probably a flask is coming up.
Oh yeah, check this thing out. So these are our America flasks, and these will be up on the website. These are not a part of our mystery camo, so don't go on there ordering a mystery camo thinking that you might get one of these. This will be a separate spot on there for the America themed flask, which should be up in the next couple days.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah, I think that's it. And
We're good.
thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Just